Hey everybody, and Tony here with a review of Richard Wagner's Siegfried, live from the Wiener Staatsoper, which I saw on YouTube thanks to my very awesome friend Dylan Haynes, aka Color Turfan, aka Logan D. Once again, the conductor was Adam Fischer, the production was done by Sven Erik Bechtolf, the set designer was Rolf Glittenberg, the costumes were done by Marianne Glittenberg, and the videographers were Momme Henriks and Torge Müller. Siegfried marks the third opera of the entire Ring saga, and it picks up where Valkyrie left off, with Sieglinde wandering through the woods, very tired, also with the baby Siegfried still in her womb, and it's almost ready to come out. However, due to all of the natural causes of what nature had to offer her and all of the uncomfortable weather conditions and all of those things really taking a huge toll on her body and everything else in between, she nearly passes out until Mime, the dwarf, sees poor Sieglinde on the verge of death. So he basically takes the baby out of Sieglinde's body, while poor Sieglinde dies during childbirth. So it's up to Mime to raise the baby Siegfried as his own. Cut to many years later, where Siegfried is a teenager and is basically giving Mime a very hard time. What with his raucous antics and his really, really mean behavior towards him. And poor Mime has to put up with it all the time, all while trying to make sure that he also has his eyes set on the ring and all of its treasure. And with every forged sword that he gives to Siegfried, each one of them ends up being all shattered into pieces until Mime tells the 411 of what has happened, what were his basic origins, that he used to be of a mortal woman by the name of Sieglinde, but his poor biological mother passed away during childbirth, and he also shows him the pieces of Not, the really awesome and strong sword, which is basically going to be up to Siegfried to forge it. Siegfried manages to forge the new sword and is proud of his own abilities. And we also have Wotan disguised as a wanderer, basically answering all of Mime's questions about the gods, the giants, and the humans, and basically also giving him some interesting banters of riddling as well, while also predicting that the one who is able to save Brunhilde from her eternal slumber is one who knows no fear. And Mime knows deep in his heart that that person is Siegfried. So, the first test of Siegfried starts off with Fafnir the giant, now Fafnir the dragon, who keeps charge and basically is the guard of all of the treasure in the cave. And he basically doesn't want anything to do with a whole damn action other than just sleep. All the while, Albrecht and Mime are still having their sights on the ring. Siegfried encounters Fafnir with his sword Notung and prepares to fight him to the death. Siegfried is triumphant, and through that side effect of Fafnir's blood, he's able to understand birdsong thanks to a little woodbird, and even Mime's deepest, darkest, most sadistic, and cruelest thoughts of killing Siegfried so that he can have the ring to himself. Siegfried doesn't take any crap from Mime because he knows his true nature and basically disposes of him with Notung, all the while Albrecht is laughing at Mime's demise, stating that he's going to be the one that's going to run the show in taking over the world. The woodbird then proceeds to tell Siegfried that there is a sleeping woman who is going to be his newfound lover. But first, he's got to face his own grandfather, Wotan, aka the Wanderer. At this point, he isn't even aware that Wotan is his old granddaddy. So he manages to give him a beating, with Notum thus breaking Wotan's spear. And even before all that, Wotan even consoles with Erda that he might as well just allow the twilight of the gods to happen before Erda sinks back into the earth, stating that she can no longer help Wotan in any way, shape, or form. Wotan encounters the sleeping Brunhilde, but it is then we see that he has doubts, he has fears, he's not so sure of how he's going to contain himself. So once he unleashes Brunhilde of her armor and everything else, he gives her a good morning kiss. She wakes up and greets the day, but is kind of confused of what has happened until she sees Siegfried and knows damn well that something is about to blossom between the two. And this also is leading up to the action that will happen in Götterdämmerung. So this is definitely a very exciting entry to the Ring Saga, and also one that is quite epic in its own special way, as to be expected from the Ring Saga. With that said, let's get on to what I thought about the production, costumes, singing, and conducting. The production was its usual dark self, but at times it does work in a lot of areas, especially in the cave scenes and the grotto in which Brunhilde is about to be awakened by Siegfried. There were also some moments that didn't seem to work for me, like the fight between Wotan and Siegfried. I would have loved to see the flames surround them as well. That would have been a lot more epic. But I still have to give credit to both of the singers for doing such excellent fight choreography. And I also love that the lighting, as to be expected, is very dramatic, and we even get to have some really wonderful props on stage, and even the giant's cave, what with all the animals, as if to say that they're also gonna be his next meal, so they better be very aware of Fafnir the dragon's presence, or else they'll either be breakfast, brunch, lunch, snacks, or dinner. Who knows, maybe there'll even be a midnight snack. So I really like the overall production and the lighting, though I would have loved to see a little bit more fire in the fight between Siegfried and Wotan, as in like the literal fire given to the visual backgrounds as well. And I also like the visual backgrounds, what with the bear coming in to signalize that Siegfried is home, especially with lunch between him and Mime. That was pretty cool. So as to be expected, the visuals were really cool, and I also love the lighting, which is rather dramatic. The costumes were, as to be expected, quite gorgeous and really elegant in their own special way, though I would have loved to see Wotan age a little bit more, because he's basically what he used to be from Das Rheingold and Die Walküre without showing any signs of aging. Okay, maybe it's just a drive home that he is a god and he doesn't really age. Still, I would have loved to see him have like a long white beard here and long white hair and his trademark black hat as well, though we do get that in his black hood, which looks really nice on him. So overall, the overall production designs and costumes were absolutely pretty solid in their own special ways. And now we get to the singing, starting off with Christian Franz as Siegfried. Siegfried, as opposed to Sigmund's more baritonal quality Heldentenor, calls for a brighter sounding, more youthful Heldentenor or dramatic tenor, one who can be able to really lunge at all the high notes and sound very youthful and very energetic. A lot of singers who have sung Siegfried have also found great successes in roles like Parsifal, Max from Der Freischütz, Steva from Janufa, and Adolar from Oriente, just to name a few roles, and especially the likes of Kala from Turandot and Luigi from Il Tabaro. And I thought that Christian Franz was a very solid musician and a fine actor. He does know how to bring that trademark swagger into Siegfried without making him too much of a jerk, without making him too much of a Mr. Manly Man. And I also love the fact that he's able to imbue some innocence to this character, basically showing that he has a lot to learn from the world around him, and especially to everything else, whether it's nature or the creatures surrounding him or humankind and everything. I really love that sense of innocence, that sense of youthful innocence that he has to this role, and you could really see that shine in his eyes, which I felt were absolutely wonderful. He really does bring a lot of facets to this really, really iconic Wagnerian character. Then we go to Mime, sung once again by Herwig Pecoraro. And this is basically him at his finest, because think about it this way. Mime is a more ungrateful sing in this opera, and it's even a heavier sing in this opera as opposed to his appearance in Das Rheingold. And with this opera, it really does give him a lot of great moments to really portray that suffering, that scheming nature, and that overall dimension into such a very interesting package. And I thought that with Herwig Pecoraro, he does very, very well with Mime, as he's been doing for the last few years. And he's been singing this role for a great number of years, so he really does know how to play this character very well, whether he plays his scheming side, his nasty side, or even his suffering side. When he goes into his nasty mode, he has a very harsh tone to his voice that he manipulates really well. And especially when it comes to that really harsh sound that he produces, he uses that to his advantage and really does this role a great amount of justice. Whether you like the sound of his voice or not, you still have to give Mr. Pecoraro huge amounts of credit for really embodying this character really, really well. And he was an absolute pro as Mime. Then we have the role of the Wanderer, aka Wotan, sung by, once again, Tomasz Konieczny, who, as to be expected, was in very fine voice and was a very dashing figure on stage. Then we have Jochen Schmeckenbecher as Albrecht. He has a very fine voice, and he manages to add a lot of fun and a great sense of dark humor into this character. I can tell that this gentleman has been having loads and loads of fun really embodying this character wonderfully, and it's also helped with a very secure dramatic baritone voice. We have Fafna, sung once again by the ever magnificent Zoran Koleban, who manages to add lots of menace and lots of bite. And what more can you expect from a gentleman like Signore Koleban? He really knows how to play all of these nasty and really horrid characters, and he does them wonderfully with such aplomb, and he is such a badass basso. He manages to really make Fafna someone who is really strong and powerful, yet someone who can really show a sense of great musicianship and a lot of really awesome moments. And his voice, as to be expected, was as round and rich as one could hear in any great basso. Then we go to Erda, sung once again by Anna Larsson, who, as to be expected, had a very gorgeous voice and a very strong stage presence. And what more can I expect from someone as versatile and awesome as Madame Anna Larsson? She really did this role great amounts of justice and really made her a very beautiful and very dignified character. As I stated before of what I thought about Linda Watson's Brunhilde, she's been singing this role for many, many, many years. So there's a great chance that it took a toll on her voice, as evidenced when I heard her sing not only the Walküre Brunhilde, but also this Brunhilde. Yes, the high notes were effortful, but I still have to give her credit for her fine musicianship and her fine theatricality. She didn't overact, nor did she overforce her voice. Yes, some of the high notes did sound forced, but she still was a very superb musician and an equally superb actress who really knew how to embody this role with beauty, strength, and heaps of wisdom as well to really make her come alive. Then we go to the Woodbirds, sung by Andrea Carroll, who also sang Voglinde. With the role of the Woodbird, it's a very thankless yet very rewarding character part, especially for a light lyric soprano, a light lyric coloratura soprano, or a lyric soprano who is still quite young. And there has been no shortage of sopranos who have specialized in this delightful role, like Erika Kut, Vilma Lipp, Joan Sutherland, Moitza Erdmann, and Catherine Geyer, just to name a few. And I thought that with Andrea Carroll, what more can I expect from this really wonderful light lyric soprano? She had a very gorgeous and scintillating technique and an equally youthful and light and breezy voice to really make this wonderful character part come alive. So the singing was really, really wonderful. And I give all the singers a really huge rounds of kudos for really pulling everything together. And the conducting done by Maestro Adam Fischer was absolutely well done, as to be expected from someone as totally awesome and totally scintillating like him. So overall, this was definitely a very fine production of Siegfried, but the singing was absolutely wonderful, and how Adam Fischer conducted was totally immersed, and he really knew how to pay close attention to all the fine details and to the text to really make this opera come alive. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for my review of Wagner's Götterdämmerung, also live from the Wiener Staatsoper. So until then, good night everybody.